Hello lovelies, it's Bronte Spicer. How are you? So this video is about loneliness. I've just finished listening to an incredible podcast episode with Tash Sultana, who's one of my favourite musicians, on the new podcast. I think it's new, and it's called We Are Lonely. And such a great podcast, so I highly recommend that. And I also last week went to see Hugh, whatever his last name is, from the Resilience Project in Bendigo, and he was talking about how Australians are lonely. So our stats are high in terms of how lonely we are. So often Australians, we don't feel like we have many, if any, people that we can reach out to for support when we need it. And so I have a story in my book, It's Okay to Cry, about loneliness. And I had this incredible experience facing loneliness during COVID 2 years ago. And it's in the book, and I'm going to read this story. But before I share the story, I just want to share the message. What I learned from loneliness was that when I feel lonely, it's because I have disconnected from myself. So we feel lonely because we're disconnected from other people. And yes, we are social beings, and having connections with other people is absolutely, we need it to survive and thrive. Yet at the same time, there is this inner resourcefulness that we can, when we reconnect with ourselves, we don't feel lonely because we find ourselves, and from that place then we feel more we feel safer and more like we actually want to reach out to other people. So if you are feeling lonely, then the way I see it, this is what's helped me, is that if I'm feeling lonely, it's a reminder or a message from myself to reconnect with myself, to fill myself up with myself. So I'll read and thanks for joining those of you who are live. Hi Bronya, I can see you live. So I'll read this short story from my book, It's Okay to Cry. It's in chapter 6, Body Intelligence. So this is the story. During COVID lockdown, I had a list of friends whom I felt abandoned by for various reasons. Within a short space of time, 2 friends never got back to me to organise our next catch-ups. One didn't respond to a business-related request, and one defriended me on Facebook. I felt very lonely and unlovable. I had the stories, "No one wants me," repeat in my mind, and I felt like I had no friends. I was in a dark place. I was very sad and in the midst of drowning in daily motherhood of 3 young children. I felt alone. I finally sat myself down to practice some KO with my feelings of loneliness. When the words of the deficiency stories like "I'm a loser" and "I'm an idiot" and "I'm dumb" dissolved, I came to the body and felt what I had been running from all along. I felt all those sensations that were attached to me many times in my life when I felt unwanted by my friends, not good enough and alone. When I first felt the sensations, they felt hard. I didn't want to feel them. I started using the techniques. I found the edges of the sensation and felt the space where there was no emotion and no charge. I darted between the space and the sensations. I started dipping my toes in to feel the edges of the sensations. I looked at the sensations in momentary glances and had a big long break in the space where I could rest, feel safe and regulate my nervous system. The more I stayed, allowed and welcomed the sensations, they started losing their ferocity, charge and power. It was more manageable and it felt okay to be with. Then, like so many times, sensations that were so painful morphed and transformed before my eyes into the most blissful experience, and my whole body was filled with ultimate expansive peace. Just as my depression was my medicine, so was my loneliness. I came home to myself. I felt like I had discovered and refound everything I had always been looking for. Acceptance, approval, love and friendship from my friends. Yet all that time I was missing myself as my own best friend. It was like my most perfect fit for a friend was there all along. But I didn't see her. I was blind to myself. I was the one that I had been looking for. I was the one I had been looking for. Opening myself up to feeling everything that came with feeling lonely was like putting parts and pieces of myself back together into one whole again. I felt complete. Any need for anything external fell away. Since then, particular friendships and relationships have changed. I've often felt an underlying neediness and dissatisfaction where I was never quite receiving what I needed from my friendships. I felt needy. I didn't want to look needy, so I didn't ask for much, if anything, but I longed for more support and more love from my friends. And I often left outings with some friends feeling undernourished and incomplete. Now I feel a sense of satisfaction to be with myself, stay with myself, nurture the parts that feel triggered, and support myself by placing my direct attention on the sensations in my body. From that place of wholeness from within, I can connect with others with authenticity without needing so much from them because I'm already full. So I feel quite vulnerable sharing that, like reading that story. There's definitely some emotional charge there still. And as I was reading it, I was also reminded of what incredible support I am receiving from my friendships, I'm receiving support from my friends through my friendships. So that's my story, and oh, good, Vanessa, thank you for sharing. So when I hear, and I guess there's a stigma about loneliness, which they talk about on this podcast, that I referred to at the start of the video, that there's this stigma about being lonely, that if you're lonely you have no friends, or if you're lonely you must be old, or we have these ideas, and I guess we believe that it's bad to be lonely, or it's shameful to be lonely, yet loneliness is an emotion and it comes and goes, and it's not necessarily something that you are, it's an experience that you're having. So if you're looking for support, the podcast is called We Are Lonely, and I just listened to an episode with Tash Sultana on it, and it's also by Miff Warhurst. It's a great podcast. So, well, that episode was good anyway. So that's my take on loneliness. If you are feeling lonely, it's a call. It's a call from yourself to reconnect with yourself. That was the most pivotal thing that I got from this experience that I just read out from chapter 6. If you haven't bought my book, it's at brontespicer.com/book/. And if you want support, if you are feeling lonely and you are looking for support to overcome that, and learn how to not get overwhelmed by your thoughts and feelings, but actually feel free enough to be able to watch them come and go, then just DM me, and we can talk more about the work that I'm helping so many incredible people do, so they feel free, peaceful, comfortable in themselves, confident, and all the other amazing things. Thanks for joining me. Have a beautiful day.